Welcome back to another episode of Automotive Insight. Today's vehicle is a 2009 Chevy Tahoe with a 5.3 liter four-wheel drive. Customer states grinding, scrubbing noise in the front. So let's check it out. So after checking out the vehicle, we find this. That's a faulty right front wheel bearing. So that's what we're going to be replacing today. Okay, we're going to remove our center cap. We're going to move the right front wheel. The lug nuts are 22 millimeters. We'll go ahead and we'll undo our speed sensor harness. Next, we're going to remove our brake caliper. We're going to leave the caliper on the bracket. We'll remove the two 18 millimeter caliper bolts. I've got a bungee cord just to hold the caliper out of the way so it doesn't conk you in the head later. We're going to remove the rotor. They do have a set screw. It's a T30. Next, we're going to remove the CV axle nut. It is a 35 millimeter, and then we're going to push our axle in push it real good to give us a little bit of clearance for the three wheel bearing bolts on the backside. With the wheel turned all the way left, you can get access to two of the wheel bearing bolts. They are 15 millimeters. Okay, with the wheel turned all the way right, you can get the last one. This car is kind of rusty, so we've got a slide hammer puller. And I know what you're thinking. Well, sure, that's not the knocking noise. It's not, or the grinding noise. But anyway, you can pick up a slide hammer rental locally. Anyway, we can attach it back on with the lug nuts, and let's see what happens. All right, we got our old wheel bearing off. It took a good bit of work because this vehicle is rusty. So I cleaned up the spindle where the hub goes in there, and I put a little bit of anti-seize on the wheel bearing to help makes the next time a lot easier. So you do want to line the wheel bearing back up because the speed sensor is in a certain position. It's at the 2 o'clock position. We put our shield back on together. We'll go ahead and route our harness back through the shield. Put our rotor back on. We'll put that caliper back on. We'll finish connecting our harness. We'll put our CV axle nut on. So on the rare occasion we do torque things, the axle nut is 177 foot-pounds. Put our wheel back on. The center cap is clocked. It's got a picture of the valve stem. And you point that directly at the valve stem and it goes on a lot easier. Ta-da. All right, well, we test drove it. The noise is gone besides that sway bar link. But besides that sway bar, but anyway, besides that rotted frame. Yeah, the rotted frame. But anyway, that picked up that part for about $255 locally. This was not the cheap one. They had a cheap option for about $200. Read the reviews on it, kept saying replace once a month or once a year. That's too much for me, so I'm hoping to replace it maybe once every 2 years with this one. Anyway, it calls for about 1.2 hours labor. Ran into a little bit issues with the rust. If we had that, maybe a hub tamer tool, that probably would have came in real handy, but was able to use a couple methods and got it out. Anyway, this job is pretty reasonable for a wheel bearing, but anyway, that wraps this up. I may not have all your answers. Hopefully I had some. That being said, I'll see you on the next one.
I'll pick you up at 8. You probably won't be awake. Call yourself an Uber, babe. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait.
A hammer, you can knock it out.